to distinguished members?
I saw him in the hall.
Okay. All right. Well, we're going to start. It's time. Good morning. Oof.
Mess up the way you got your papers.
Okay. Well, thank you. Where's Gary?
He's in the
Okay. All right. I'm starting us off here. There he is. Okay. All right, I'm calling the meeting to order. Welcome to the Tuesday, March 21st, 2023 Tarrant County Commissioners Court meeting. Roll call, please.
Tim O'Hare, County Judge.
Here.
Roy Charles Brooks, Commissioner Precinct 1.
Present.
Elisa Simmons, Commissioner Precinct 2. Here. Gary Fickus, Commissioner Precinct 3.
Here.
Manny Ramirez, Commissioner Precinct 4.
Here.
Constitutes a quorum.
Excellent. We have Pastor Jonathan Sawyer from the House of Grace in North Richland Hills here to lead us in our invocation. Please, everyone, rise for the invocation. Remain standing for our pledges of allegiance.
Thank you for this honor. So, Father, Lord, we come to you today, and thank you for those who have put in positions to make a difference in this world that we live in. We do not always know what to do or have all the answers, but our eyes are fixed on you, who we draw our strength and wisdom from. We ask that you would guide and direct these men and women by the Holy Spirit that you said would lead us in all truth and be a helper to us in difficult situations and tough decisions. You said you would be the lifter of our heads and would allow us to get above what we cannot control and help us remember that you are still above all things and still working all things together for the good of those who call you Lord and put their trust in you. And finally, Father, Lord, I know that the weight and the rest, the things that they have to deal with on a daily basis, I know those must be tough situations and put a weight up on their shoulders, Father, Lord. So I pray for protection for each one of these individuals, for their families, their marriages, their children's, their office workers, and those behind the scenes. We ask that you be with them, bless them, and protect them from all of the enemy's attacks on their lives. We ask these things in your mighty name, Jesus. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor, for being here with us. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance to our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And now to the Texas flag. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible. Thank you. You may be seated. Do we have any agenda announcements, Mr. Manius?
Yes, sir. Thank you. We have several items on the agenda that I'd like to discuss very quickly. Under the County Administrator section, item A7, this is a travel request and in-region travel request by AgriLife. We have a new court communication that I believe is in your red folder, and we will talk about that particular item when we get to it. Also, under the Administrator section, item number 13, this is a consent item. We're going to remove that from consent, and we'll discuss that when we get to that particular item. Also on item number 18 under the Administrator section, that again is a consent item. We're going to remove that one. We do have an audience participation form on that, Your Honor. So whenever we get to that one, we do have an audience participation form. Also, as it relates to the out-of-state travel requests, on item number 20, we have a revised travel request that we'll be talking with you about. The original one that we sent in, the Sheriff's Department had an item on that. That item has been, is going to be held for a week, and they'll bring that back to us. You'll give me just a second. We do have several other audience participation forms when we get to that particular section at the end of the agenda. Then we'll take those up. And then finally, Your Honor, we do have a public hearing this morning also.
Okay, thank you. So just so I'm clear, we are removing item 20, Sheriff's Travel.
Yes, we will be taking that sheriff's travel up, but it'll be an amended, request. We have others on that travel, out-of-state travel request.
But that's next week?
Yes.
Okay. And then item 13, under your section, is removed from consent.
Yes, sir.
And then I have 10A, 2, 5, and 18. Speaker.
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
And of those,
18 is removed from consent.
18 is consent, 2 and 5 are not?
That's correct.
Okay. All right, thank you very much. Announcements from the court. Anyone have anything? All right. Moving on. Time for approval of corrections to the minutes.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the minutes as presented. Any discussion? All right, please cast your vote. Gary, you abstaining from the minutes today?
No.
Okay. All right, passes unanimously. All right, next up, we have a proclamation related to the Auto Crimes Task Force commemorating 30 years. Commissioner Ramirez.
Yeah, I'm very excited today to present this proclamation. Our Tarrant Regional Auto Crimes Task Force does incredible work. I think everybody has recognized that over the years, and they're marching a milestone today of 30 years. Without further ado, I will read this. Whereas 30 years ago, on Monday, March 1st, 1993, a team of investigators from various law enforcement agencies within Tarrant County was formed to serve the community in a concentrated effort to fight and prevent motor vehicle theft, known as the Tarrant County Automobile Theft Task Force. The new multi-jurisdictional task force was funded by a state grant through the Texas Automobile Theft Prevention Authority and local agency support. And whereas a board of governors consisting of the chief or sheriff of each participating agency and the sheriff serving as the board chair, Tarrant County, the Texas Department of Public Safety, the National Insurance Crime Bureau, and the cities of Arlington, Azle, Euless, Fort Worth, Haltom City, Hurst, North Richland Hills, and White Settlement provided officers to serve on the new task force. And whereas the addition of surrounding counties and the inclusion of vehicle burglary enforcement in 2007 precipitated a change in scope and name of the task force to the Tarrant Regional Auto Crimes Task Force. In 2019, fraud-related motor vehicle crime was added to the task force initiative mandate, which currently involves the enforcement, investigation, prevention, intelligence gathering, and officer training in all things auto crime related. And whereas the Tarrant Regional Auto Crimes Task Force currently consists of sworn and professional staff from the Tarrant and Parker counties, the National Insurance Crime Bureau, the cities of Fort Worth, Arlington, Euless, Hurst, Haltom City, Lake Worth, and the Tarrant County District Attorney's Office. The task force is responsible for a 7-county program area including Tarrant, Parker, Wise, Hood, Palapino, Jack, and Somerville counties, and serves approximately 2.3 million citizens. Now, therefore be it resolved that we, the Commissioners Court of Tarrant County, Texas, do hereby declare March 1st, 2023, the 30th anniversary of successful grant-funded enforcement and prevention operations in Tarrant County by the Tarrant Regional Auto Crimes Task Force. In witness thereof, we have hereunto set our hands and caused the seal of Tarrant County to be affixed this 21st day of March 2023. I'd like to invite the sheriff to come up and say a few words if he would, and then I'll present this proclamation. I know we have quite a few folks in the audience that are here to represent. If you are here from the Tarrant County or Tarrant Regional Auto Crimes Task Force, could you stand up, please? Please give those folks a round of applause.
Thank you, Commissioner, very much for those words. Not only do we have the task force here, we have several former commanders that served in this capacity. Matt Peterson standing behind me is the current guy, and we have the original grant writer that was on this. Today, that was, by the way, just how this is funded is that everybody that has a car insurance pays a couple of bucks. They pay $4 extra on their policy. 2 of it is for auto theft prevention and enforcement, and that's how they're funded, not out of normal taxpayer stuff. So our drivers are paying for it. But they have done such an incredible job. In fact, they're the largest task force in the state and possibly in the nation, and they recover millions and millions of dollars worth of cars every year, and they put a lot of bad guys in jail and break up car rings, and they are truly on the front lines battling, and I can't imagine doing business without them.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Well,
And
thank you
I
very
would
much.
like to introduce Matt. I'm going to, if I may, have him introduce the former commanders quickly.
Excellent.
Certainly, I can do that. Judge O'Hare, Commissioners, thank you for this, for the proclamation. Thank you, Commissioner Ramirez, for sponsoring. Yes, in the House, we have several past members, and I will say that I'm really standing here on the shoulders of giants. For 30 years, we've had 5 commanders. I'm the 5th generation commander, and a multitude of detectives, investigators, professional staff, and folks who have really been able to not only initiate this 30 years ago, but to maintain the success that it has become today. Bill Russell, Bill's the original, the first commander, the original writer of the first draft or grant for our task force that got the ball rolling. Jerry McCurry, who's our second commander and wearing one of his original lock take high prevention shirts, which is one of my favorite things that he decided to grace us with today. Representing Walt West, our third commander is Cheryl West, his wife. And then Brian Sudan was our 4th commander, who just retired within the past about a year ago, and in which I took over as the commander currently of this task force. So, there's, again, a multitude. We have Leanne Tillman with our National Insurance Crime Bureau. I told myself I wouldn't do this, so I would make mistakes, but I mean, they made the effort to be here, so I really want to make sure. With our professional staff, Anne Marie Payne is my current administrative assistant, spearheaded the proclamation process for us. Jennifer Derry is my office clerk and does such a great job. Janet Rogers is one of our original administrative assistants who also really, the administrative section, of course, we know the professional staff is really what holds up all the cops that are doing this, right? They're the backbone of our operation. Matt Weaver and Patty Shosin, I'm sorry, thank you. Both senior grant managers that managed the grant in the past, and I think that may be it. But anyway, on behalf of the current and the past members of this task force, we thank you for your support over the years. We wouldn't have been able to do it without Tarrant County sponsoring this grant, and we continue to march forward. Again, I'm standing here only because of the work done by our investigators and the people on the ground who, unfortunately, my team can't be there. They work in a covert capacity, so we're not going to put them in a public meeting. But those are the folks who are doing the work. Those are the folks who've done the work. We as administrators are just here to help tell their story. And so we thank you for recognizing this chapter.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
And I'd like to invite everybody down, maybe get a picture of the resolution.
We'll get some pictures. And by the way, Cheryl's here representing Walt's passed away. He was with us for a long time. And I don't know what it says about me, but I worked with every one of those people for the last 30 years.
Fantastic.
So how do we do this? Go forward.
We'll need a motion.
I think we need to accept it first.
Okay.
Second.
All right, so we have a motion and a second to approve the proclamation. Any discussion? All in favor, cast your vote. All right, it passes unanimously.
Are we going to get them all up there?
Good, how are you doing? Gonna get spring break?
No, we're going back.
Be up.
I get it. Don't worry about it.
Just keep hands off. So you run.
I'm an expert at moving this podium.
Good to see you. It has been a while.
Can y'all see that without this podium? If you can't see the camera can't see you. So make sure you can see the camera.
All right, thank you all for your work and congratulations again on 30 years. Next up is our consent agenda. We are removing items 13 and 18 under the administrator's section on the consent agenda. Do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda as amended?
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. Any discussion on the amended consent agenda? All right, seeing none, cast your vote. All right, the consent agenda as amended passes unanimously. Next up, it's a long consent agenda. Next up is, would it be item
So we have
13 or 2?
No, we have a public hearing this morning.
We do the public hearing before we do the
Yes, sir.
administrators. Okay. We have a public hearing to consider amendment number 4 to the program year 2021 action plan and community development.
So Mr. McClinton is going to lay this out and introduce Ms. Jones.
Oh, I got it. Now I get it.
Morning, members of the court. I'm going to
Morning.
introduce Maggie Jones, our assistant director. She's going to conduct this public hearing.
Good morning, Judge O'Hare and members of the court.
Good morning.
Good morning, Max.
Today, we're asking the court to conduct a public hearing to receive comments on amendment number 4, adding the home ARP allocation plan to the program year 2021 action plan. Supporting documentation is in your packet. Upon closure of the public hearing, staff requests a motion by the court to authorize execution of any necessary documents as required by HUD.
All right. Do we need a motion to open a public hearing?
Yes, please.
All right. I'll make a motion to open the public hearing. Do we have a second? All right. All in favor, please vote. All right. The public hearing is now open. All right. Is there anyone from the public who would wish to speak to this item? Sure. Come on up.
Daniel Bennett, White Settlement. I read through the questionnaire that was in that section. It was quite extensive. And they prefaced it with saying, we're going to come into a lot of money. What is your wish list? And then there's all those questions. I got down to question number 27, and it said, how would you like Tarrant County to inform you? Well, the actual stakeholders aren't the ones we're giving the money to or providing the services, the actual ones that are receiving the services. I want to make sure that those two are consulted. Now, the Tarrant County Homeless Coalition does this. They do it during the winter months, and they do when the shelters are most full for people not necessarily on drugs or having homestead issues or having rent issues or utility payment issues, people who are actually homeless. And I understand they're coming out tomorrow with a presentation at a news conference. So I'm hoping that our community development department will work in hand to fill in any holes that they may have revealed that our study or input from our stakeholders, as you call them, may have missed. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that wishes to speak at this public hearing? All right, seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. Any discussion? Please cast your vote. Okay, the public hearing is now closed.
Move approval to execute the documents required by HUD.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to execute the documents required by HUD. Any discussion? All right, please cast your vote. All right, it passes unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now we move to the administrator section, and I guess we'll start with number 1 and go all the way through and then add 13 and 18 at the end.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Your Honor. Members of the court, on item number 1, we're requesting that the court approve a resolution which formally casts the Tarrant County's votes in favor of recalling Catherine Wildman from the Tarrant Appraisal District Board of Directors pursuant to Texas Tax Code Section 6.033B. This is something that we did last week. There's a request by the chief appraiser that we formalize this for transmittal purposes only into a resolution, and the district attorney's office has worked up that resolution, and we're seeking approval.
All right, I'll make a motion to approve, and in that motion that GK's office deliver it to the chief appraiser today. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. Any discussion? All right, please cast your votes. All right, it passes 3-2. Next up is item A2.
So on item A2, I'm going to ask Mr. Merrick to make this presentation. We also have an audience participation form on this.
Mr. Merrick.
Morning.
Good morning.
This morning, we're asking for your approval of an invoice of payments related to the agreement between Tarrant County and Management and Training Corporation for the housing of Tarrant County inmates.
Move for approval.
Second. Any discussion?
Question.
Yes, sir.
Do we owe the money?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Any other questions or discussion?
How many inmates do we currently have here?
We currently have, as of this morning, 289.
Okay. And have we made any payments?
No, ma'am, this would be our first payment.
Thank you.
All right, any other discussion? All right, we do have someone signed up to speak to this item. Geraldine Jackie Cox. Okay. With that, any other questions or discussion? If not, please cast your votes. All right, it passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Next up is item A3.
Members of the court, on item A3, we're requesting that the Commissioners Court waive Tarrant County filing fees for qualified candidates through the Expunction Non-Disclosure Clinic, which will be held on April 1, 2023. The waiver is requested for local court filing fees only to the greatest extent permitted by law. This is a program that we've done for several years, and it's something that Commissioner Brooks had brought forward originally. And Commissioner, do you have any comments on this?
No, just that this expunction and non-disclosure clinic is put on by the L. Clifford Davis Legal Association, This is perhaps their 10th year, and each year we waive the county's portion of the fees. We don't have the authority to waive the state's portion, but we can waive the portion that would come to us. So I move approval of this item.
We have a motion to approve. I'll second it. Any discussion? All right, please cast your vote. All right, it passes unanimously. Item 4.
So, members of the court, on item number 4, we're requesting that the Commissioners Court approve a donation agreement between Tarrant County and Walsh Ranches Limited Partnership for funding related to the Texas Department of Transportation I-20 project. This is the Tarrant-Parker County line, bridges to Markham Ranch Road. This is a betterments agreement. It's illumination betterments on one overpass. It is for, we'll be receiving $253,053 on this, and next week you will see another item on court where we will transfer that $253,000 to TxDOT. Staff is recommending approval.
Move for approval.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All right, please cast your vote. Passes unanimously. Next up is item 5.
Thank you, Your Honor. Members of the court, on item number 5, we're requesting interim funding for funding year FY22. This is from HUD for the Continuum of Care tenant-based leasing agreement 114 and 3 CP programs, which provides rental assistance and services for homeless individuals and families in Tarrant County. This is for a 90-day period. This is something that we do on a regular basis. HUD and the feds, they believe that the grant will be ready for distribution of funds around June 1st. Once that occurs, any monies that we have put up front on this will be reimbursed to the county. Staff is recommending approval.
Move approval.
We have a motion for approval and a second. We do have someone signed up to speak to this item. Mr. Bennett.
Daniel Bennett, Judge, Commissioners, as GK said, this is business as usual. We do this quite often. Those were his words. I think it's time that we consider that the availability of cash in a timely fashion is not always going to be at our beck and call. These organizations are going to have probably discontinuance in their care. We want continuance of care. We don't want them to be short-staffed or short-funded. But for the county to provide a bridge loan to these organizations for 90 days with interest rates increasing, and Mr. Manis says we're going to be reimbursed when the funds come in on June 1st. Well, are we going to get the interest lost on June 1st? Are we actually giving these organizations greater than the grant amount because they're using our money in our absence? Why isn't that sitting in our account, deriving benefit to our taxpayers? Though they're providing a magnanimous service, I don't disparage any of them for doing that, but they should have an alternate form to obtain bridge loans when there's shortcoming in financing. It should not rest upon the taxpayers or this court to take up where they should step up. Thank you.
All right, we have a motion and a second on this agenda item. Do we have any further discussion or questions? All right, seeing none, please cast your vote. All right, it passes unanimously. Next up is item 6.
So, members of the court, I'm not going to be asking for any formal approval on this. Mr. Schaffner was going to be here today to discuss some of these items. Also, he is in Austin. We have some hearings today and tomorrow that he's preparing for. I do want to talk about one or two things, though, mainly to get a consensus from the court as it relates to bills dealing with ad valorem taxes. We have a position that we support the effective use of county taxpayers' money, and there are several bills that are in the legislature now talking about it's either on public school reform or tax rates and valuations, and also county valuations and the amount of taxable value that's being placed on those. We've seen everywhere from, currently we have a 10% cap on county taxes as far as value increases. This is for homesteads. And we've seen some legislation that deals with a 5% cap or a 2.5% cap. What we're seeking today is just to get a consensus from the court that when we have those bills that come forward, and I believe there'll be greater clarity as the legislature gets further down the line, that we speak with the county's position on that is that we're for tax reform and things that will help the taxpayer. And so Mr. Russell or Mr. Schaffner was at a point where that he just wanted to double check, make sure that everyone is still okay with the way that we are addressing this, and that if any of those issues come up, that he can address those also. As you know, Russell calls you all and keeps you all informed, but we as a body have to give him direction also. So that's just general comments, and if I don't hear any objection from any of you, I will be directing him to basically follow our programs, our orders, and then also to be able to put a card in whenever some of these come forward. And we'll be talking with you all about it also. As I said, Russell wanted to be here today, but he's in Austin. And I think that as we go farther down into the session, we're going to really hear about different ways of lowering the valuations. And we're going to be coming to you all also in a couple of weeks to talk to you all about that. So unless I hear any different from the court, we're going to follow the same course that we're following, and we'll make sure that we keep you all informed.
I would recommend that we follow the same course that we have been following until there is specific legislation that we need to address. Right now, bills are all over the place, and I don't think it would do us much good to stake out a position on each bill. But when it looks like one is going to come forward that has major support, at that point we might want to take a position. But right now, I think it's premature.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think broadly, we've set the direction on where we support lowering the tax rate. I think everybody, or lowering the property taxes in general. I think we're all supportive of reform in that system, and so it's up to the legislators to make the sausage, and then we'll just support them whenever they do it. So.
Yeah, the way it's going at the moment, I'm good with. So I would say we keep doing it the way we're doing it, and then get into specifics when something starts to emerge that looks like it has legs.
Very good. Thank you.
But I would like to compliment Mr. Schaffner, though, for what he's doing down there. He's doing a great job. We talked about that Garza County contract this morning and paying that bill. Well, just this morning, there's a hearing on that bill to compensate counties, Tarrant County, for state prisoners that our Representative Charlie Guerin's carrying. So I know Russell is heavily involved in that process, and so everybody's working towards the same goal. But our folks are doing a good job on it.
And that's specifically why Russell isn't here this morning.
All right, next up, item 7, approval of an exception to the travel policy within region.
So, just a little history. Historically, whenever we have within region travel, we have always had that as a non-consent item. As we move through COVID-19, we put that on consent. So from now on, we're going to move this to these to non-consent items so that the court can discuss them. If at any time you all would like for these to go back on consent, that would be fine, but you'll see these as non-consent items. We're saying that on item number 7, this is a request by Texas AgriLife to travel to Farmersville for a 2-day conference. It's really more than just a conference. They're bringing in a substantial number of children from members of of FFA and 4-H, and their 4-Hers. It's a 22-county district, and they're having competition during this time. It's two days. Originally, we had submitted something where they wanted to spend one night, but they have revised that, asking that they can spend 2 nights, and this is the reason. On Friday morning, they have to have everything set up and ready to go by 7:30 that morning. Not get there at 7:30, but have everything ready for the competition. And then that carries through Friday and Saturday. Would like to point out that there are 6 individuals going. They're sharing rooms. They're not, no one gets an individual room. We're double bunking basically. And with doing that and the money that we would be saving just simply by mileage, going back and forth, staff is recommending this in-state or in-region travel.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion to approve and a second. Any discussion? All right, cast your vote. Passes unanimously, and I appreciate the efforts to save money, and I appreciate everyone who's participated in that and working towards that.
So item number 8, this again is within region travel. This is for the tax office. Ms. Burgess is requesting the ability to stay in Dallas for the Tax Assessor Collector Association Annual Conference, which is from June 3 through 8. And the justification is because of the travel and the traffic. And so you see that in your court communication, and we're seeking court's approval.
Move approval.
I've got a few questions about this one. Was there a second?
So do I. We need a second.
All right. Well, we have a motion. We don't have a second at the moment, but we may. Go ahead and ask your questions.
No, broadly, I know we talked last time about looking into our policy. This, to me, to Dallas, back and forth, the policy seems pretty clear. So an exception here, I guess the justification of traffic, I mean, I'm sure we have DAs that go to court in Dallas all the time that don't stay in Dallas. So really the justification to go outside of the policy here when it's a $250 conference that turns into a $1,500 bill, just questioning. And I'm sure staff put it together, so.
Would you like more
Oh,
information?
yeah, please.
All right, great. The justification in your packet shows that the total $14,1219 includes the conference fee. So the TACA conference secured this venue for 3 years consecutive. So it will be 3 years this year and 2 consecutive years after that. Locking in the low rate for staying in the hotel as well as the conference venue to keep the rate low. So it ends up being $191.44 per day, including taxes, as well as the $250 rate for the entire conference. That's vastly different than the conference rate that you've seen for some of the other individuals going to conferences. All of our conferences are in the state of Texas as well. This is the best value for continuing education for the tax office. We are required, all of the staff is required to maintain continuing education, to maintain our designations and licenses to be able to continue as property tax professionals. This year, you might have seen on the Tarrant County website a press release that we put out last week. We will be recognized amongst our peers by Daniel Levita, Commissioner, I believe you know him, being on the DMV board. We will be recognized for being the first and only large county in the state of Texas to be awarded gold in their Performance Quality Recognition Program. This program focuses on best practices, innovation, operational efficiencies, customer experience, and fraud prevention. And you can see that that press release on the Tarrant County website. So they will be doing a presentation during the conference for that, for the entire staff. Staff will be driving back and forth that will be attending this conference. However, I will be staying there. And the additional information for my stay, the explanation for that is I am chair for association committees that meet prior to the start of the day. Some of them meet at 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning, and some of them meet at the end of the day after the conference is concluded. So I do also attend the board meetings, having been a board member. So those do attend, those occur outside of the conference timeframes. Being a property tax instructor and presenter, I have moderated sessions at the conference as well. I'm a regional coordinator for the Fort Worth region for 6 local counties, so I'm the regional coordinator for that as well. We also have our regional coordinator our regional meeting at the conference, and that also is after hours as well, and I moderate and preside over our Fort Worth region, selected by the president of the association to do that for the Fort Worth region. I present at conference such as fraud presentation. This last year did fraud presentation, and affording other counties to learn from our large county experience to mitigate risk and how we worked with the DA's office, our DA office investigators, to actually catch and convict those attempting and actually harming citizens in washing checks. So these are things that I do at these conferences. So it's not just go and stay at a hotel. It's also mentoring other tax assessors, because I have the highest designations that you can receive as a tax assessor collector. I received those designations in my first 2 years, and so I do mentor other tax assessor collectors around the state. We had 51 new tax assessors 2 years ago, and then we had 26 new tax assessors the year after that. We've had a lot of retirements in the state of Texas, so we've implemented a mentorship program. So that mentorship program does lead into having discussions in the evenings to mentor those individuals as well. So it is not just to miss travel, it is also to for me to do my duties as assigned by the president of the association in some of these various things that I have just mentioned.
I have a question. Did I hear you say that some of your staff will also be attending?
They will. Yes, they will be driving back and forth. They will not be staying over there. They will be driving from Tarrant County over to the conference and driving home that day. So we will be incurring travel costs.
Okay, so
for them.
For me, in the interest of uniformity and equity, I want us to remember that if we approve this, we are approving this type of convenience travel for some and not all.
Yes.
Okay. I'm a commissioner. I think I'm equal to my staff. That's just my belief. So as these requests come before us from other subject matter experts throughout this county, whether they are elected or staff, we must give equal consideration. We have staff that live in Dallas County and other counties that drive into work in Fort Worth or Tarrant County every day. Trust me, I understand. I've been the head of professional associations before, but I think we need to look at equity when we approve these things. And do you get a car allowance as well?
I do.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. All right. That's all I have to say.
Does I saw here the conference ends at noon on June 7th, but this has a stay on the night of June 7th and a return on June 8th. And the conference begins June 4th, but this has a departure of June 3rd. Is there a reason that it's booked into the day on each side?
I do not believe that the hotel is booked through the 8th. I believe it's booked through the 7th And that is how I calculated the room rate, was through the
Just
7th.
what we got.
If it is, that was incorrect, and that would be fixed. Typically, the staff does, when we are not, we haven't had the conference in Dallas since I've been in office. Typically, it's in Galveston, Corpus Christi, Waco, it's in other cities, and the staff does stay in hotel rooms. We could have hotel rooms for all for equity, but I thought that in being a conservative county, that we best mind all the nickels and dimes this time. And also, since the managers would be recognized with the PQRP, that they attend that one day and not every day. We only have certain individuals that attend the conference. We do rotate the staff that does get to go to this conference each year. In being fair among, so we have certain individuals that get to rotate and go through. They can also earn their designations at these conferences.
Did you say you're the president? Is this the state association or
This is the state association. I said that the president of the association has put me as a chairman and regional coordinator of some of the committees.
Okay, got it.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah,
And I've also been a board member as well.
Like I said, when it jumped out at me, just because the registration fee is so low, it's $250, and then the total that we're gonna pay is $1,400. And like I said, just being Dallas and Fort Worth are, 45 minutes away from each other, I understand traffic can be an issue too, but, if it were in Waco, if it were on the other side of Dallas, I could understand. It just, that's why it jumped out to me, because we're talking about the travel policy and trying to be consistent with everything. And really, I think staff, department heads, elected officials, everybody needs clear guidelines to say, okay, where are the bumper rails here? Where's the justification? Your justification you just laid out seemed a whole lot better than what was written, just for traffic purposes. But still, I mean, that's $1,000 in hotel when it's our neighboring city. Maybe I look at it differently.
And for clarity on the last day, throughout the conference, there are 3 board meetings. There's a board meeting the first day, a board meeting in the middle of the conference, and there's a board meeting on the 8th, a final board meeting, as well as a vote in the middle of the conference to place new board members. So there are 3 board meetings through the entire conference as well.
Are you running for election to the board?
I am, yes.
I've got over 30 years of going to these conferences. As a staff person, as an elected official, as a chair of the organization, and I can tell you that having to be there from early morning through the day to late at night is exhausting. And there is a safety factor involved here in asking someone who has done that for 2 or 3 days in a row to drive back and forth. I would hate to be penny wise and pound foolish and have someone to end up in an automobile accident because they're tired, they're unable to focus properly on the drive because of the day they've had and the responsibilities they've had during that day. And for that reason, I support this request.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the travel request. Do we have a second?
So moved.
We have a second. All right. Any further discussion?
Again, let's be equitable about these requests when they come to us. That's, again, I pointed out, her staff's going back and forth, but she's not. I understand, just like Commissioner Brooks said, being head of these organizations, it is exhausting. And so you just want to go to your hotel room at midnight and say, I'm done. We've set up the next banquet meeting room. But we've got to be equitable when we're considering these requests. That's it.
So just so I'm clear on the dates, and you may have addressed it, what's in our packet shows spending nights 6/3, 6/4, 6/5, 6/6, 6/7. Is that inaccurate? Or you are staying those 5 nights?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
That's what's on my calendar from the hotel.
Okay. And the conference dates are when?
3rd through 8th. The 8th is the final day of the conference, and then board meeting the final day as well. After
Okay.
the conference.
The TAC website has it reflected as the 4th through the 7th.
Okay.
With the last item being noon on the 7th, but maybe they have meetings on the 8th, I'm not sure. But the website says 4 to 7.
Okay. Sarah, can you explain that discrepancy?
I have not looked at the TAC website to verify whether it shows board meetings on there or not, but I can get clarification on that. I guarantee you, I would not be staying in a hotel room over in Dallas. I will not be staying in a hotel room over in Dallas one day longer than I have to, because I prefer Tarrant County. I do not prefer to stay in Dallas County any longer than absolutely mandatory. Tarrant County is my home. I'm in Commissioner Brooks' precinct, and I absolutely will be back here because I have an office to run. So I will stay over there the absolute minimum amount of time. And to Commissioner Simmons' point, I will review and with my staff to make sure that there's equity with the staff in the stays. And if you're suggesting that I have my directors,
Nope.
Nope.
Not talking about that.
All right.
I'm speaking about equity across departments. We have denied travel for some, not how you do yours.
All right, yes.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion, we have a second. Any other discussion? Okay, please cast your vote. Everybody in? Okay. All right, it passes 5-0. All right, now we have to go to item A13 from the consent agenda, which was removed on the administrator's section, approval of a construction contract between Tarrant County and XL4 Construction for the city of Grapevine.
So, members of court, this is a CDBG grant or proposal. This is a contract with Tarrant County and Grapevine and XL4 Construction LLC. This is for the construction of paving and for 12 and 1300 blocks of Hilltop Drive. The county's portion of this, the total amount of the contract is $627,119. CDBG funds of $383,283 are available for this project. There also is a resolution from the city of Grapevine basically stating that they will pick up the remaining costs.
I asked that this be pulled because I had just a quick question. I thought there would be a price in the contract. I didn't see, I saw the price in the communique or the dollar amount, but within the contract there is not.
So there is a price listing on the resolution itself from the city of Grapevine.
Mm-hmm.
I'll need to review that contract again. If not, we will place that in there, or there may be other supporting documents. James, is there any other items that?
I thought there would be a payment schedule in the contract. So I just thought it was odd that the contract doesn't say how much these people are getting.
Commissioner, if you'll give me just a second. Okay, so let us go ahead and we want to pull this down.
Okay.
And we'll pull it down and come back with a valid contract.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, item 13 removed from the agenda. Next up, Also pulled from consent agenda on the administrator section is item 18, which is approval of an amendment to the fiscal year 23-24 Health Resources and Service Administration for the HIV epidemic plan. GK.
So members of the court, what this is, when we receive funding from the feds on a lot of our grants, they partially fund initially, and then they'll come back to us through the grant year and provide additional funding. Total amount of this is $2 million. We had originally received $205,800, and what this is the acceptance of an additional $1.794 million to make a total of $2 million. I do believe we do have an audience participation on it.
We do. Mr. Bennett.
Judge, Commissioners, I'm just curious. This is a 5-year grant. I think it is in 2025. And you're approving today some more money for the study or the trying to diminish HIV transmission in Tarrant County by 75%. Have we gotten an update during the duration of all the efforts up to this point? Have we achieved our goal? And who's keeping track of those statistics? Have we met our funding goal? And if we have, we don't need to approve this today. Now, if we haven't, I say we approve it. So do you have enough information in court communique to say whether we've met our goal or we haven't in order to make this decision today? Thank you.
And you are referring to the goal of
reducing HIV transmission infections by 75% in Tarrant County.
And the answer is no, the goal has not been met.
Okay.
All right.
I did not see it in the provided items.
The answer is a resounding no, because HIV and AIDS are still on the increase in Tarrant County.
Well, that should be within the documentation provided with the asking for the grant. That's all I'm saying.
I move approval.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion to approve item 18. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second. Any discussion? All right, please cast your vote. All right, it passes unanimously.
So finally, members of the court, on item number 20, as it relates to the out-of-state travel request, and we have an amended out-of-state travel request that we provided you this morning. The change from the original is the Sheriff's Department. We've removed that particular piece of the out-of-state travel request. That will be brought back at a later date. Staff is requesting approval of the out-of-state travel request.
Move for approval.
All right, we have a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a second. Any further discussion?
I do.
Okay.
I'm searching for, is that in this hard copy red folder or the electronic?
It should be in the red folder. It should be in your red
Electronic
folder.
red folder.
Let me give you mine.
What changed? You don't have to push that.
The only thing that changed is that there was a request from the Sheriff's Department to go to Washington, D.C. That has been removed from this request, and it'll be on next week's agenda.
All right, any further questions or discussion? All right, we have a motion and a second. Please cast your vote. Passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next up, Ms. Glenn, and it's not a quick up and down this time.
Move to receive and file the personnel agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to receive and file the personnel agenda. With no discussion, please cast your vote. All right, that passes unanimously. Next up, approval of terminal benefit waiver, County Auditor's Office.
Yes, as explained in your court communique, Ms. Tidwell is requesting that the court waive 385 vacation hours effective April 1st. This is related to the retirement of one of her internal audit staff members who's going to be retiring at the end of this month. So we've estimated that the net cost to the general fund will be approximately $8,160.
Okay. Request to approve the waiver of terminal benefits on the county auditor's office.
Move approve. Second.
We have a motion to approve and a second. Any discussion? Now please cast your vote. All right, it passes unanimously. Next up, approval of the employee picnic at Six Flags.
Yes. So for those of you who are new to the court, this is an annual activity that our employees look forward to. Employees are able to enjoy a full day of fun and food at Six Flags. This year, we are, with the court's approval, of course, we're looking at Sunday, October 8th for our day of fun at Six Flags. Tickets this year will be $60.98 per ticket. Bless you. That's an increase, but of course, everything has increased, so that didn't come as a surprise. This ticket price covers, again, all-day attendance at the park, parking, an all-you-can-eat private meal in a pavilion, covered pavilion at Six Flags, and then the ability to buy discounted season passes for next season. In your red folders, I'm told, you should have a copy of just a historical breakdown of what the cost share has been. Remember, I mentioned ticket prices are will be $60.98. Of that, we're proposing that the county continue its contribution of $17.45 per ticket. That's been the county's contribution since 2016. That would mean that the employee would pay $43.53 per ticket. So with this, what we're asking for today are two things. So we're asking the court to approve the agreement. The agreement has been reviewed by the Criminal District Attorney's Office. And we're also asking the court to approve a 25% deposit. That deposit is approximately $9,900. Monies are budgeted for this event. Susan Sodak from my office is present. If you all have any more specific questions about the picnic, Susan actually works with liaisons in all of your departments to sell tickets. She's there, she's present on the day of the picnic. She's the person who brings the fun. So,
when the employee pays their $43.53, that's a season pass for the rest of the year and the following year?
no, sir.
No?
So the $43.53 is their portion of the $60.98 ticket cost.
That's just a one ticket? Okay.
Correct. And the season pass, that amount is in the contract that's attached. And let me look, because I don't have it committed to memory. It's $30.99. If you show up on the day of the picnic, you can purchase your discounted season pass for $30.99.
Over and above the $17 you already paid?
Correct.
Yeah, that's a heck of a deal. Okay.
It's a very good deal, and it's very popular with the employees. We've got whole families that just line up to do this.
Yeah, seems like a good deal. All right. Anybody have any questions?
Move approval.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second for approval. Any further discussion? All right, seeing none, cast your vote. Passes unanimously. I'll race you to be the first one on the Titan. So, all right. Next up, purchasing. Mental Health Jail Diversion Center renovation project. Melissa.
Yes. Good morning. We have 3 items for your consideration this morning. The first item is a award recommendation regarding bid number 2023-066. This is for Mental Health Jail Diversion Center renovation project for facilities management, the Construction Services Division, awarding to Falkenberg Construction Company. If approved, we're also requesting contract approval and acceptance of the payment and performance bonds.
Move approval. Second.
All right, we have a motion and an approval, a motion and a second, I'm sorry, to approve. Any discussion? All right, seeing none, please cast your vote. All right, it passes unanimously. Item 2.
The second item is also an award recommendation for bid number 2023-084. This is our annual contract for vending machine services for facilities management, awarding to the primary vendor, Compass Group USA, by and through Canteen Vending, and the secondary vendor, Refreshing Texas, per unit price and commission rate.
All right. Any questions?
Move approval.
All right, motion to approve. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second. Any discussion?
Wish they could figure out how to keep Fritos in that vending machine.
Is that an amendment to your motion? Or? Okay. All right, we have a motion and a second and a promotion of Fritos. Any discussion? All right, seeing none, please cast your vote. All right, passes unanimously.
And
next up, item 3.
And the third item is regarding bid number 2023-085 and bid number 2021-061. This is our annual contract for prisoner extradition for the Sheriff's Office. We're requesting rejection of all bids with revised specifications for bid number 2023-085. And we're also requesting approval of a 30-day contract extension for bid number 2021-061. The one bid we received did not meet specifications. They didn't have the required license for out-of-state extradition.
All right, I move to reject all bids, rebid with revised specifications, and approve the contract extension. Do we have a second?
Second.
So we have motion and a second. Any discussion? Please cast your vote. All right, it passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, item H1 from the Sheriff's Department, approval of an MOU between Tarrant County and U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement. Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. Sheriff's Office is asking the approval of an MOU with HSI regarding a grant-funded position that currently works with our Human Trafficking Task Force. The grant fund has been approved before, and the MOU is part of the requirements in order for this position to continue forward with the grant funding.
Excuse me, that description doesn't match what's on the agenda.
So it's a memorandum of understanding with Tarrant County Sheriff's Office, United States Immigration and Customs Enforcement with Homeland Security Investigations. The position currently works with...
And that relates to human trafficking. How?
So we have a grant-funded position in our Human Trafficking Task Force right now. That position works, we have always, just like with HIDTA Task Force, worked in agreement with other entities, including Homeland Security, and that's what this MOU is related to, is to that current position in our Human Trafficking Task Force.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion, a second for approval. Any discussion?
Wait. Where in the MOU does it discuss human trafficking?
It discusses, do you have a question? This is our commander of the Human Trafficking Task Force, Kevin Kirk.
Hi there.
The MOU is for a standardized task force officer position. It does not specifically state in there as far as the North Texas Trafficking Task Force, but that is exactly what the MOU is signed for on this particular task force position. That is a standardized form that HSI puts together for all task force officer positions.
Any other questions or comments?
I think in general, these agreements are incredibly fruitful for the local agencies that participate in them. I actually was an HSI task force officer at one point in my career, and I know just how big of a force multiplier having the federal agencies and everybody working together can be, whether it's with ICE or whether it's with Homeland Security or a human trafficking unit. either way, they add resources that Tarrant County otherwise wouldn't have in prosecutorial backup, making sure that we have the funding we need for certain operations. Just overall, these MOUs are win-wins for the agencies that participate, so very supportive.
Is there a way to get a clear delineation of what this MOU contains and what the individual will be doing?
A job description regarding our human trafficking team?
Yes.
Sure, we could get you a job description of that, yeah.
No,
We can send that.
Well, in the MOU, because like you said, it's a standard MOU.
Right,
And like
that-
with any contract, I would like to see specifically, I don't need a job description.
That would need to be something that's gonna be discussed between the Homeland Security, our team, and the DA's office in order to change the contract. It is a standard contract, typically. Whether it be a task force officer in the HIDA task force, the human trafficking task force, it's pretty standard on how that contract is written. So I couldn't answer for definite how that would change, but I'm sure that we could figure out something if it needs to change.
Okay.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further questions or discussion? All right, seeing none, please cast your vote. All right, it passes 4-1. Next up, thank you. Next up is County Judge Commissioner section. Commissioner Brooks, deal for Precinct 1.
Okey dokey. I've got an interlocal agreement with the city of Forest Hill for the reconstruction of Grady Street. Items K1, A, and B. I move approval.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the agreement between Tarrant County and City of Forest Hill. Any discussion? Seeing none, please cast your vote. Are you against this one?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. All right, passes unanimously. And let the record reflect that she was against it before she was for it. All right, let's see. Next up, Commissioner Ramirez, you have one similar.
I have an interlocal agreement between Tarrant County and the Birdville Independent School District. I would move for approval of items K, 2, A, and B.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the agreement between Tarrant County and Birdville ISD. Any discussion? Please cast your vote. All right, it passes unanimously. Next up, we have board appointments. I see that Commissioner Fickus has some. I have a couple as well.
And I've got a couple.
All right, fire away.
I have three. I have Genevieve Fredericks to the Tarrant County Historical Commission for a 2-year term ending in January 2025. I have a reappointment for Irvin Hawk to the Tarrant County Historical Commission for a 2-year term ending January 2025. And I have a reappointment for Willard Ray Thomas to the Tarrant County Historical Commission for a 2-year term ending January 25. That will be those three.
That's your motion. All right, we have a motion and a second to appoint Ms. Free, Mr. Hawk, and Mr. Thomas to the Historical Commission. Any discussion? Please cast your vote. All right, they passed unanimously. Next up.
I would like to move the appointment of Judge Tim O'Hare and Criminal District Attorney Phil Sorrells to the Mental Health Jail Diversion Advisory Committee.
All right, we have a motion to appoint me and Phil Sorrells to the Mental Health Diversion Advisory Committee. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, any discussion? All in favor, cast your vote, or no? All right, that passes unanimously. And next up, I have two appointments to make. One is Seth Morrow to the Historical Commission. I will make that motion.
Second.
We have a second. Any discussion? Please cast your vote. It passes unanimously. And last appointment, Dave Gebhardt, former Bedford City Councilman, to the CPS Board. I'll make that in a motion.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion there? All right, please cast your vote. All right, that passes unanimously. Next up, we have approval of claims and addendum.
Move approval of the claims included in the addendum.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the claims and addendum. Any discussion there? All right, cast your vote. Passes unanimously. And last, before announcements and public comments, is a briefing on the Mental Health Jail Diversion Center.
Thank you, Your Honor. Members of the court, Mr. Heading from MHMR is going to give us an update at this time on the diversion center.
Morning, Judge.
Morning.
Commissioners. How are y'all doing?
Morning, Randy.
Good.
Good. Thank you for your approval of the additional garage, law enforcement garage and emergency entrance. So thank you for that. I was going to give you just a quick overview of the services at the diversion center, mental health diversion center. We have some pictures there of the inside. For those of you who haven't been there, haven't had a chance to see it, you're welcome to come. That's part of the area where folks who are in the diversion center mingle, and the kitchen's back in the background there. The diversion center provides a recovery-oriented short-stay alternative to incarceration for nonviolent justice-involved persons with mental health needs. So it's jail diversion is adult. The criteria currently is adults 18 and older, involved in low-level nonviolent offenses, in police custody, obviously nonviolent, mental health, behavioral health needs, and voluntary. Exclusionary criteria would be individuals who are involved in a violent offense or have a medical emergency, or who are requiring emergency mental health care. They're a danger to self or others, and really they need hospitalization. One thing to note, when officers bring individuals to the center, we don't stop and say, officer, we're not going to take that individual. If we notice these things after they get in, we'll coordinate a transfer to the hospital, if that's the case. If it's a medical emergency or if it's a mental health emergency, we'll coordinate that on site. And the Sheriff's Department has staff there that can help with the mental health emergency as well as the transport. How does it benefit the participants? They receive immediate mental health interventions targeted to their unique needs. The diversion staff engage the individuals in wraparound services to connect to treatment. A variety of things that we'll address if we have the opportunity with them are food stamps, Medicaid, medications, ID, birth certificates, etc. A place where they can get mail, work on those kinds of issues. We don't have that on site, but work that out for them. And a big part of this program is those transition services, not just what happens in the building, but things that happen afterwards. We'll refer the person to crisis respite, substance abuse treatment, and other programs as needed. Services in the building, psychiatric care, medical care, medication management, education, try to connect people to JPS benefits, JPS connections, group individual counseling, peer support services, that's people with lived experience, counseling and substance abuse. And if we have the opportunity, we can start the housing assistance process. They're getting hooked up for housing. If not, we'll continue it after they leave. And then aftercare services. The goal is to stay in touch with these individuals for up to a year to ensure they get into mainstream services and provide support. And we've had good success with individuals trying to engage in those that we're able to engage, being able to connect them to services, or also if we see them starting to fall off and have trouble, being able to re-engage them back into other services. So it's been a great part of it. Again, the key is not what just happens in the 2 or 3 days they're there, but also what happens afterwards. So these are some of the aftercare services that are provided. And I just wanted to give you a quick overview over that. And we also, in your packet, you do have that addition to the garage I just wanted to note. And also we have the numbers that monthly report. I don't think we've given an update since, I think, October to the court, but you have the statistics that are there. And as you can see, over the last 3 months, the numbers have gone up, but they still need to go up a whole lot more. So we're still working with law enforcement and others to try to increase those numbers. So we're hoping that that census will continue to go up. So I'm just opening it for any questions or comments.
I'd like to see, and I know you're working on this, but that eligibility criteria, somehow be able to create a pipeline that goes from our jail to that diversion center as opposed to them having to just be in initial police custody. But some way where we can ease the burden on those nonviolent offenders that are going into our jail for processing, create a pipeline where we can send them over there instead. I know that you're in discussions on that, but I'm very interested in looking. I think that'll help a whole bunch with getting more folks to utilize this, because this is a really good service, a really good diversion center that meets the needs that weren't being met.
Commissioner, we had a meeting on yesterday with the Sheriff's Department, the Criminal District Attorney, MHMR, and the County Administrator's Office. And we sketched out an expansion of the charges that will be acceptable at the Mental Health Jail Diversion Center, and also a way to transfer persons directly from the county jail to the jail diversion center. These will be presented to the advisory committee next week, and then the court will be briefed on the 28th, Mr. Manias?
Yes, sir.
So we're getting there.
Fantastic. Thank you, Commissioner.
Yeah, I think that'll make a huge difference in the census.
It will make a huge difference in the census and in fulfilling the mission of the jail diversion center to the citizens of Tarrant County.
Well, I think comprehensively, the programs that are involved there are helping those that are eligible.
Yes.
The one concern that we had, I like it. The one concern that we had going in was that charges were the only consideration and not criminal history. Someone might have been picked up for criminal trespass, but they may have 10 violent felonies on their record, and so they may be a danger to the staff that are over there. So those things need to be considered also when we're looking at expanding eligibility. So you got to toe that line, cautious, but you must make sure that the staff is safe over there also.
We will not be making changes to the requirement that individuals accepted for treatment there not have a history of violent offenses. That is not one of the things that we're looking to change.
Just like, if I could, give you a success story. We had an individual previously that was reported to the court. He came into the diversion center. He was receiving around $500 a month in SSI benefits. Our case management staff was able to connect him with a representative of Social Security, and after a bit of research, determined the patient had access to retirement benefits that he was not using. So that by the time they finished, his $500 a month increased to $1,368. And the patient continues to work with the transition team and express gratitude. So at that point, that's what was going on with this individual. And this is almost a year later. The same patient remained in our transition program now for a year. He has remained in the same room and board since he was discharged from the diversion center. He manages his own money and pays his rent early. He has been saving money, and he's remained sober and reports a reduction in symptoms of depression that contributed to his arrest. He's now decided it's time for him to return to Galveston, where his sister lives. He's purchased his own bus ticket, leaves this next month, and has identified an assisted living where he will reside. and has communicated to the family already, and they have a plan for his admission at the facility upon arrival in Galveston. So those are the kind of things we want to see.
Yes.
We want to see people that come in, we reduce they get better, they do well, it reduces their arrest in the future, and we have success like that. So thank you for your time.
Yeah, before you go away, Judge Neekum was going to call a meeting of all the local police departments to make sure everybody was aware. Do you know if that's happened yet?
I do not know.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Raymond, and thank you, Susan.
All right, next up on the agenda, announcements and comments. Do we have any announcements from the court?
I do. Judge, if after announcements and comments, if you would allow, I think we should have a moment of silence. Yesterday, you know that we had a horrific school shooting in Arlington at Lamar High School. One 17-year-old male died. Another student was shot as well. So I want us to pray for those families, pray for AISD, and show our appreciation to school districts, security staff, the Arlington Police Department, and the city for their response to that incident. So at the end of announcements, if we could do that,
Yeah,
that'd be great.
thank you for bringing that up. I think right now would be a perfect time. So would everyone please join us all in a moment of silence in honor of the young man who lost his life and the one who was injured. Thank you. Thank you for bringing that up. Tragic. Any other announcements or comments? And please silence your phones. Any other announcements or comments? Yeah, you're not the announcements or comments. If you're a speaker, we'll bring that up in a minute. All right. Any other announcements or comments? Okay. Seeing none, now time for public comments. The first person I have signed up to speak is Harriet Harrell.
Good morning.
Good morning, Harry.
I am here as a member of the Justice Committee for Broadway Baptist Church. And today I'm here to talk about the commitment the county has made to permanent supportive housing for those who are chronically homeless. Specifically, I want to thank you for the 4 exciting projects that you're supporting, and especially thank you for your work at Las Vegas Trail. That was creative and exciting. The impact of these projects will be significant and a point of pride for you and for the whole county. And I also need to express my concern about the possibility that you will divert some of the remaining money that's allocated for housing for the homeless. Let me give you a specific example of the negative impact that would cause. Renaissance Heights is an amazing community at East Berry and 287, dedicated to helping disadvantaged people through education, health, safety, and housing. Renaissance Heights United has built beautiful apartments there that are mixed income for families and seniors. And the goal and the plan right now is to build a 3rd phase of mixed income housing with 26 apartments specifically dedicated to permanent supportive housing with case management on site. As you can imagine, this is expensive, and it is just one part of this overall puzzle of putting together enough housing for our chronically homeless. It has to be financed in a way that allows sustainability without relying on rent, because there's not going to be rent. The Tarrant County Housing Coalition will be able to provide significant funding to help make this project happen if you do not cut the ARPA money that the county committed to them. You see, what happens is that that money that you have allocated stimulates money from other sources, including the ability to get federal tax credits, which makes low-income housing possible. So cutting it means the loss of a lot more money than just the number of dollars that you may be cutting. And, of course, it makes more chronically homeless people live on the streets instead of in homes. So I'm asking you, please, please do not cut the amount of money that this court agreed to allocate for permanent supportive housing. This housing means less crime, something that I know is important to all of you. It means more opportunity for individuals to get jobs and be contributing citizens. It means less cost for law enforcement, and it means that you've invested in the long-term health of the county.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up is Dave M. I'm not even going to try to pronounce it. If you could tell us how to pronounce that.
It's Mukherjee. Thank you.
Mukherjee, okay.
I'll be very brief, just reading from a prepared statement. My name is Dave Mukherjee. Thank you for allowing me to speak this morning. I'm not speaking on behalf of Broadway Baptist Church, although I do attend. I do support the justice initiatives within the church. I'm requesting a commissioner that you consider opening up an independent review regarding the circumstances surrounding Robert Miller's death in 2019 at the Tarrant County Jail. I'm seeking an investigation by the Department of Justice based on the Texas Rangers investigation and medical report. An exceedingly high number of deaths have occurred in the Tarrant County Jail, and I would suggest that potentially that may be the cause of deaths. So a little different in the sense of most presenters. Fortunately, most of you have not been arrested. I, however, have been. I've spent some time in the Tarrant County Jail, 17 hours to be exact. I self-surrendered in 2022, served out my probation half the time, and in my experience, I can see where conditions in the jail would lead to chaos. It's hard to even contact a bailsman with the phone numbers listed on the cell. It's chaotic, it's loud. You're lucky if you can get a phone call out of there. So from my perspective, it's very easy to see how someone can lose their life in the Tarrant County Jail. So I am asking nicely and graciously to consider an independent investigation by the U.S. Department of Justice. Also, I'm calling upon the Sheriff's Office to release all video and other information related to Mr. Miller's incarceration-related death. Thank you all very much.
Thank you. Next up is Merle Glasscock.
Good morning. Good morning. I am Merle Glasscock, a member of Broadway Baptist Church. I am not here on Broadway's behalf. I am here because I believe in the justice initiatives of Broadway. My comments are my own. And I appreciate you for listening to the public. Robert Miller, a homeless man with mental illness, died in the Tarrant County Jail in 2019. It is now 2023. I do not see that his death has been resolved. What is happening with having an independent forensic pathologist review the autopsy of Robert Miller? Why are we not hearing or reading anything concerning this? When will any information be revealed to the public? The homeless people need people who care to defend them, especially when we believe they are treated unjustly, dead or alive. I appreciate this place to be able to talk to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Carolyn Rodriguez.
Carolina. I came here today to put on record what a cop watcher is. A cop watcher. Cop watcher.
Oh, okay.
So a cop watcher is actually what we do is we monitor the police activity and we go with cameras, just like the show cops or some of those shows that you see on HBO, and the ones that are following the cops around and filming them. And the reason why we do that is to hold them accountable. So I'm putting it on record that we are not the bad guys. We're the good guys. We're trying to hold the police accountable. Last week, the chief of police went to some kind of Republican dinner, and he said that we hate police. We don't hate police. We just want to hold them accountable because it seems like what they do is like, okay, I guess I'll just put it to you this way. Instead of de-escalating things, they seem to escalate things right away. Their whole agenda is to make people comply. And in order to make them comply, they're allowed to do whatever they want. They can tase people, they can punch people in the face. The whole idea is to get somebody to comply if they can't de-escalate them. And that means that a lot of people end up in the jail that they were talking about. And the jail's getting really crowded because of these unnecessary arrests. I have been arrested 5 times for filming the police. 5 times. And instead of, I'm not getting arrested for filming the police. They throw other things out there. Like one of the things they put out there is that we're interfering with police activities. And we're not interfering with police activities, we're just filming them. They say that we're loud and obnoxious. Well, quiet and nice has not worked at all. We have case law that protects us. One of them is called Guilt versus Conifer. Have you heard of that one? You're with the DA, right? That's the one where we're allowed to stand 10 feet away from the police, 10 feet. But what they're doing to us is they're telling us you can film all you want to, but you got to walk down the block, around the corner, behind that tree, but film all you want to. So if we're allowed to film, according to Turner versus Driver, how are we supposed to film around the corner, about down there, 2 miles around the tree, if we can't hear them? Because part of filming is hearing and seeing. So I just wanted to put on record what cop watchers do, that we're not the bad guys. We don't hate the police. We don't like the overcrowding in the jails either. And also, something that concerns me too is that, Fort Worth is 20% African American, but we have 60% of the prisoners are African American. Why is that? Is it because African Americans commit more crime? Mm-mm. It's because the police are only in the black neighborhoods. And they have this unit called the SRTs that everybody's really afraid of. Not a black soul on that, just all white. Over there policing in the black neighborhoods. And so the chief of police actually went on record. He's got this new initiative called the Safe Fort Worth. And he wants to reduce violent crime by 10%, which is, violent crime is pretty unpredictable. But he says we will be working with community members to root out the people and conditions that are contributing to violent crime. And we're going to do it with intelligent-led and data-driven data. Root out members, root out people. Yeah, we're going to be working with the community members to root out the people. Seems like they have some people targeted already and are looking for snitches. But that's all I got to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we have, it looks like Levon Cockrell, but it was to speak to an item that's been removed. Do you still want to speak?
I do.
Okay.
Simply because I spent 3 hours preparing to speak. I have some recommendations about that. Thank you, Judge O'Hare, and Commissioner Brooks, and Simmons, and Fickus, and Ramirez. I love these meetings. I know you may not, but you make $202,000 to have these meetings. And when you took 2 away, I went, what? I'm just now learning how to get into the agenda and get into the support documents. And so last night at 9 o'clock, the expenditure of $380 a day for 12 sheriffs to visit a museum, attend an event in honor of our Sheriff Sheets, who collapsed when he was responding to a call, and for Deputy Nicholas Littlejohn to receive a Top Cop Award. And I wish I knew why he was receiving that award, and I checked the newspaper and I haven't found anything. This is a total cost of $27,375, and it was still on the agenda at 9 a.m. So I arrived today to ask to speak, and why these 12 people needed to go, and also what else was going to be happening that would require almost $30,000 for this trip to DA, and can I go with them? Because I love Washington, D.C. And the agenda item has been pulled, but I wasn't notified until I got here at 9:50. So I propose that you guys email the agendas to every citizen that signs up, because getting on the website and finding it, I was on at 9:30 talking to somebody about the La Cantera West, because I used to live out there, and somebody's platting something in the flood zone, which was always where I rode my horse, and is also the equestrian trail access. And so I'm calling my neighbors out there saying, do you know about this platting change? No. So she said, it's not on the agenda. And I said, yes, it is. So I had to work her through the website. So I would love an email that says, here's your agenda, because it comes on Friday. The meeting's on Tuesday. And I spent 2 hours looking at the museum these officers are going to go to, looking at the honor event, looking at the Top Cop thing, and then there's nothing else on there on what these 12 people are going to be doing. And I want to make sure that we know what's going to be going on in DC, so that if they're going to something else, I get to read what classes they are attending. Because, you know, I don't like the Oath Keepers, and I don't like the 3 percenters, and I don't like the Texas militia, and I don't like the black militia, because we have sheriffs and we have police officers. So anyway, I will speak to this when it gets back on the agenda. Thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you. Next up is Daniel Bennett.
Commissioners, Judge O'Hare, thank you for the vote concerning the appraisal district today. I see that Mr. Fick has voted no. He voted no last time, but it was annotated as he abstained. I hope we'll fix that for the March 7th minutes. And Commissioner Brooks, I appreciate your vote, whether yes or no. I want to call your attention to the letter that Jeff Law sent to your district attorney. In the very first paragraph, he said that Ms. Wildman's resignation and subsequent recall didn't happen that way. That's him spinning. I've been doing this since 2016. This is what I read at TAD on Friday. I would like to draw your attention to a letter addressed by Mr. Mark Cradoval, Assistant Criminal District Attorney, dated March 14th of 2023, signed by Mr. Law. In the very first paragraph, the second sentence speaks to Ms. Wildman's resignation and subsequent recall. The process to recall preceded her resignation, as the City of Keller's notice to recall was delivered on February 22nd at 11:36 by hand to the appraisal district. Wildman's announcement to the board of her resignation was delivered via email at 2:31 the same day, a 3-hour difference. But yet Mr. Law's letter states, in the letter to Mr. Cradoval, that her resignation preceded the subsequent recall, which is totally false. Now, why is this important? Well, it's important because it caused a lot of stuff that didn't need to happen. As you choose your nomination of replacement, we need to consider one thing, what I just read to you. The mincing of words, the crafting of narratives, and how the outcome to our taxing voters, the ones that are taxed, the ones that pay the bill, and then the taxing entities that are responsible for these directors. Remember who voted you in and who we need to protect. The individual who sits in that seat will be protecting them from this, the mincing of words. Thank you.
Thank you. The court will now recess the open session and proceed to closed session to discuss items exempt under sections 551.071, 072, 074, 076, 087, and 0725 of the Texas Government Code.
You're welcome.
All right, we're back into open session. Time is about 12:18. There's no action to take in response to our executive session, so I will entertain a motion to adjourn. We have a motion. We have a second. All in favor, please cast your vote. I guess it's 3-0. I don't know what it is. 5-0. Y'all can take care of that. All right, thank you. We are adjourned.